All right, what's up, guys? So, I'm going to talk about having bad short term memory at work. And I experienced this a lot, especially with that construction job I worked at. Um, Usually, if you work at a stressful job, it's it can mess with your psyche. You feel like you have like a brain fog, and then people will tell you, go do this, go do that, And then you forget, because you're stressed out. And the job is intense. It's very fast paced, for example. And it can mess with your mind, and then the worst part is like your coworkers get pissed when uh, you forget what to do next because your memory's off, and that's what sucks when you're working at a high stress job or any job in general that makes you feel funny. I think another thing too is if the coworkers are toxic, the coworkers are talking smack behind other workers' backs, or maybe even the supervisor will be the same. There's a lot of yelling at the job, there's a lot of people acting hostile at the job. The job is dangerous. Um, they demand more from you. It's just gonna stress you out. It's just gonna give you a brain fog, and a lot of times there's people that aren't able to handle like a high pressure job. Like that's just like me, for example, and it makes you worse and it makes you feel forgetful, and you just have like some sort of short-term memory loss, you know. But I'll say, for example, for me, like my memory's better when I'm not so stressed out and I'm not at a job that asks a lot from me, and the coworkers aren't there, obviously. So it's hard, and a lot of times there's people that have short-term memory loss too because they may have a learning disability. They may be more forgetful, maybe if they have ADD or ADHD or something at the job, because it's stressful and you can get distracted and you may lose focus when you have ADD, ADHD, you know? So it makes it more difficult to function at the job. And a lot of times when you have bad memory, a lot of times like the place you work at will fire you because they think you're not paying attention. You're not focusing on the job. You're slacking, and people will lose patience on you. For example, they're trying to teach you something if you're new at the job. And they see that you're not getting it, and they see you acting slow. They see you keep making mistakes. There's a lot of times these coworkers lose their patience and they yell at you. And they put you down because they aren't patient enough. They want you to get it like that, and everyone's learning speeds are different, right? So that'll make you feel more forgetful too, and you may have more of a memory loss, basically. A lot of times it can, like if you have memory loss at a job, maybe it can be caused by trauma. Maybe it can, say you were abused as a kid from your parents, and you tend to be forgetful at times because you were abused, right? Because that can just mess with your mind, and it can impair your memory, basically, if you were abused. And a lot of times, if you have a learning disability, It's not always, it is from genetics mostly, but it's, it can be impaired from traumas at childhood, you know? It can give you more of a learning difficulty and just makes you feel forgetful, you know? Even autism can be like that too. Because you have a hard time communicating with people, and when you have a mix of that and you have a mix of a learning disability, it's just hard to have good memory, you know, at the job. Um, yeah, having bad memory can be difficult to keep a job, you know. And I'll say another thing for me is, since I have bipolar also. When I get stressed out, my mind is like racing and stuff, and it tends to intensify more than trying to focus on the job and trying to remember what they're telling me to do for the next task, right? So it makes it more difficult that way. Um, yeah, it's not your fault at all. You don't deserve like those challenges that are detrimental throughout your life and when you work, because like I said before, it can become from genetics, and it's not something that you can change, you know, because it stays with you, you know. All you can do is uh, try to find copes, and you try to find ways to figure out how to get your memory up there, you know? Like, I guess, like, if you live a healthy lifestyle, I guess that can help, but it's not always the case, you know? It's not always that'll help you, you know? Um, yeah, especially when you work a stressful job, it makes you like this. Makes you more forgetful, you know? Um, yeah, because people will think that you're just doing it to be rude. You're doing it to be, you just don't care, you know? But a lot of times you're trying to just work and go home, and you want to try to understand what they're saying. You want to remember what to do for the next day. And it's not, you're not doing it on purpose, you know? People don't understand that. People always make assumptions. People always generalize too much, you know? Yeah, there is people that don't care, you know? There's people that act act oblivious purposely, but there's a lot of people that don't at these jobs, and it just it's just hard, you know. It's hard to um, work these jobs, and you just hope that you remember things, you know. It's hard to deal with a lot of times, and everyone's different with certain job. Like, maybe this job worked them better, it won't be so stressful, and they're able to have more clarity, and they can think clearly, and they can remember, you know. And some jobs just, it ain't it. Like that construction job for me, that just, I wasn't able to function there, you know. My memory was just so bad, and my coworkers were getting pissed that I wasn't getting it, certain stuff, you know. Um, I guess maybe if you're working in the heat, maybe being dehydrated can make you have memory loss as well, you know. So, um, yeah, it's just hard to deal with when you're working, you know. Trying to think of any other things I can think of with this. Maybe we'll talk about losing concentration when you're doing these type of jobs too on another video. Um, but yeah, That's it. Catch you guys later.